What's up, guys? Fight of the night, no-brainer. Figueiredo versus Moreno, the main event. They robbed the women and took the $50,000, and then Fiziev and Holland got performance of the night. They all won $50,000, and Deiveson was transported to the hospital, so he won't be here. John?
When's the rematch?
2021. I don't know. I mean, we got to give these guys some time off, but you absolutely positively do that rematch. That's another fun fight for us all to look forward to in 2021.
Yeah, no question about it. Obviously, it was a great fight. I mean, we could go on and on about it. I did want to ask you about the scoring, and I'm not sure if you've seen the cards yet, but the reason it was a draw was because one judge gave Moreno the 5th round, which I don't think many people did. If Figueiredo gets it, that ends up being a Figueiredo win. So what did you think about the scoring overall, and does that change it?
Interesting. I didn't know that. But we were in the back. I went back halfway through the fight, and we were sitting back there saying this could definitely end up being a draw with the when they took the point. But I didn't know that somebody gave him the last round. So I say, man, you never know with these judges. You never know.
What did you think about the point deduction? Obviously, that's being debated right now. It obviously factored into the result of the fight. What did you think about it?
What the ref said was it was the 3rd foul. So normally in a case like that, a guy gets a foul, he'd be warned, But that was the 3rd foul, and I think the ref felt he had to get control of the fight and make Figueiredo stop, stop poking him in the eyes. Stop kicking him in the nuts. So it worked.
I didn't get to hear it, but I was looking at online reports. It seems like Deiveson said that he was in the hospital until 2 a.m. this morning. I'm assuming you were aware of that. What can you tell us about that, especially knowing that we won't get to ask him about it?
Yeah. He did. He had some. He didn't feel good in the middle of the night last night, so he went to the hospital.
What's going through your mind when your main event's in the hospital the night before? I mean, is this 2020?
Yeah. After this year, man, good luck. Good luck. Getting me to flinch at anything. But, these things happen sometimes, and especially this year. So, but he went in, he got taken care of. And
I was going to say, were we in danger of losing it? I mean, was it that close to
Anytime a guy goes to the hospital, you're in danger. Obviously, we gave him, do you want to fight or do you not want to fight? It's up to you. He was obviously cleared medically to fight, but he had the option to fight or not fight, and he wanted to fight.
Got to ask you about Charles Oliveira's performance in the co-main event as well. I mean, obviously the guy's grown up in front of our eyes here in front of the UFC. What did you think about his performance this evening?
Yeah, he looked incredible, man. And there were some debates going into that fight. I thought we were going to see the old Tony. I thought that the last fight he was affected by weight cutting, and we were going to see, 10 out of 10 people tapped to that arm bar. The fact that he even made it through the arm bars is unbelievable, and just a testament to how tough and durable and crazy Tony Ferguson is.
Yeah. Clearly, you got another contender at lightweight. I mean, he wants a title fight potentially next. But I wanted to ask you, we saw the 257 lineup on the broadcast tonight. There had been rumblings of maybe Gaethje and Chandler on that same card. We didn't see it tonight. Obviously, that would impact the lightweight division as well. Can you give us any update on that? Is that fight happening, or what's going on with it?
Yeah, listen, this is the last pay-per-view of the year. I'm going on vacation tomorrow. When I get home, we'll get all this stuff squared away and get everything done.
Nice. Do you think that Oliveira now, though, is part of that conversation? Any title fight discussions that you have? I mean, he's in there?
The rankings are coming out on Tuesday, so we'll see where he ends up in the rankings. And without a doubt, no matter what, the guy's one of the best in the world right now in the nastiest division in the sport. So, yeah.
A couple other quick ones for me. Kevin Holland. Man, we've never seen anything like that. That was absolutely amazing. Can you just talk about Kevin Holland's win and where you see that guy going? I mean, this has been a heck of a year for him.
Yeah, fought 5 times this year. Destroyed Jacare from his back and was handling his own on the ground with him. And very, very impressive. I was blown away with him tonight. And I'm really happy for him. I like the kid a lot. He's a really good kid. He's got a great attitude. And you know what? He made a shitload of money this year. He made a lot of money. And couldn't happen to a better guy.
Last thing for me, obviously, everybody's talking about the roster moves, right? The things that you got to do before the end of the year. I'm curious, names like Jacare, names like Junior Dos Santos, guys that are kind of, established former champions but are on losing streaks. Would you look at those two guys as names that are potentially on the chopping block?
I mean, that's every weekend. I mean, we'll be talking about this next weekend too, after the fights. It's part of the sport. And yeah, I mean, I think over the next, between last year and next year, you're going to see a lot of the old big names, moving on and retiring.
So Dana, not talking about his contract status, but that's 4 losses in a row for Junior and 4 by being knocked out. Do you think maybe it's time he starts looking at his future in fighting in general?
I do. Yep.
With Fiziev earlier today got us beat Moicano. He looks very exciting, a great addition to the roster, but great to see where he goes in the roster. Did you think that was a fair stoppage? There's some talk that maybe Moicano is still in the fight and could...
So, when we're shooting a fight, okay, and this has happened to us before, it drives me friggin' nuts. So, he's on top of him, hits him with that beautiful 3-punch combination, gets on top of him, and the ref stops the fight, right? As soon as the ref stops the fight, he starts arguing with him, right? So sometimes what our guys will do, they pan away and they go to the guy who won. He's celebrating and whatever. And you don't see him try to stand up and fall back down. McConnell was done. He could not get up. He couldn't walk. And he was stumbling all over the place trying to stand up. And the production stayed on it. So the fans see that, so nobody's at home going, that was a bullshit stoppage. That was stopped too soon. There's no way that fight was stopped too soon. That was a beautiful stoppage by the ref and an unbelievable combination that he threw to win the fight.
Good. You mentioned that you thought you were going to see the old Tony Ferguson. It's 2 losses in a row. It's not the most, but is it possible that the old Tony Ferguson is no longer and that Tony's now on a decline?
Yeah, of course that's possible. But Tony needs to go home and spend the holidays with his family, take some time off, and think about what he wants to do next year, and we'll see what's next for him. But yes, that's every time you fight, in this business, that's always possible.
And last thing from me, if you could put it into a word or into a feeling, how relieved are you that this year is over?
Yeah, it's funny because every time we've been talking through this year, I've been telling you, I can't wait for this year to be over. I can't wait for this year to be over. But, I don't know what I expected for 2021, but it doesn't look like it's going to be any different. It's going to be a lot of the same shit next year. But this year was a great year for us, man. We had a great year, great fights. Business has never been better. I did an interview the other day with Dan Wetzel and walked through the business with him, and basically our business is up. We broke records this year in almost every category except live gate. So 2020 was a horrible year in many ways, for all of us personally and professionally, but it was a great year for the UFC.
Just a follow up on that. Knowing that 2021 is probably going to be full of shit as well, is it still a relief and a sense of pride that you can start the year off with a pay-per-view with Conor McGregor, which will essentially kickstart the year just like this year? It's like, what better way could you start the year?
Yeah, no, it's, and you look at the fights that we have lined up, you look at the roster of young up-and-coming talent that we have. But first fight in Jacksonville, Florida, when no other sports were going, we had Ferguson versus Gaethje. It's just... It's been a good run, and we've had nothing but great fights this whole year. I don't know.
Congratulations on a great year.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Dana, do you think that the main event should be considered in the fight of the year? When you look, you had a number of great fights. The women's fight, Joanna.
Joanna and Whaley was really good too. So
right. I mean,
it was just so long ago. People need to remember how damn good that fight was.
Emmett and Burgos was also a great one, and you had a number. But do you think this should be in that consideration?
When you walk into our front doors at the UFC, we have these huge TV screens there, and the Ronda Rousey boardroom is right above it. I was in a meeting about 2 months ago, and they were airing the Whaley Joanna fight. I couldn't fucking pay attention to anything in this meeting. I just kept watching the fight, and I forgot how incredible that fight was, and what they both looked like after that fight, because they had literally beat the shit out of each other. But yeah, this fight and that fight are, yeah.
And I wonder, Figueiredo's such a strong guy and everything, and I texted you during the fight about how Moreno was, and I wonder if you could just comment on the heart that he showed. I mean, it seems like physically he's outgunned in that fight, and he's getting hit by some shots that would knock over a horse, and he's coming back and putting it on Figueiredo.
To the body, to the head, the shots he was taking. It's funny because leading up this week, he was telling everybody that his hero is Julio Cesar Chavez, and that's who he wants to, when people remember him and his career, and, he wants to be remembered like a Julio Cesar Chavez. Well, when you look at typical Mexican fighters, he is the prototype. I mean, he is exactly what you think of when you think of real Mexican fighters. He looked damn good tonight.
And I wonder if when you think of what you saw tonight from these two guys and what you saw from them 3 weeks ago, isn't it kind of amazing that how close we were to losing the division and we wouldn't even had those fights, but you had these great performances in the last couple of weeks that out of a division that was on the verge of being gone.
Yeah, and you know what? We were talking about that tonight too. I got to give it to Mick. Mick went in and restructured and rebuilt that division. And it's one of the most exciting divisions in the UFC now. And tonight we put on a potential fight of the year and potential greatest fight ever in the division's history. So congrats to Mick.
Why was it in such bad shape? Was it just because people didn't care about it before? Because you had great, obviously Demetrius was a great fighter and you had other great fighters in the division. Why do you think it was in such bad shape before, and what specifically changed it to make it better now?
Well, we all know nobody cared about it. I mean, I sat up here and, and at press conferences before the fight telling everybody why you needed to watch that division and why there were so many great fights, but people just didn't give a shit. You can't make people care. They got to care or they don't. Mick had some ideas. He wanted to go in and make some tweaks in the division. He did it, and here we are today.
You share any of the tweaks?
Yeah. I think you can figure it out if you look at it. I mean, look at the roster. It's all exciting guys. Guys that are fun to talk to. You got a guy who's a real Mexican from Mexico and fights like a real Mexican from Mexico, and the list goes on and on.
And my last question, there had to be at least some trepidation when you're coming back 3 weeks, right? You wonder if they're going to be ready to come back at all. And then you heard last night the news, So how were you today going in? How confident were you that they were going to be able to kind of put together the fight that we knew it would have been had they had a normal training camp?
No, you're dead on. You're dead on. I didn't know. You don't know. And then you start wondering, well, we're going to find out when this thing gets into the 4th and 5th round and things like that. But talking about, seriously, we throw the word around a lot, but these two are seriously fucking savages. Both of these guys are absolute savages. Incredible performance.
What did you make of the stoppage in the Junior Dos Santos Cyril Gane fight? Junior seemed to take issue with it, saying it was behind the head.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys tell me what you think, but what I saw was Junior had gotten hurt. He got rocked, and he was almost walking away and turning his back to him, and Cyril was throwing shots at him and then threw an elbow. I mean, they were squared up. You turned your back, and he caught you on the back of the head.
What did you make of Chase Hooper's performance? I mean, the first round, Joe Rogan was saying, like, maybe he needs fights outside of the UFC to build himself up, and then 2 rounds later, he's pulling off a come-from-behind submission win. So what did you make of his win?
Listen, that kid has an incredible ground game. He needs to tighten up the rest of the game. You can't come here and continue to take that kind of punishment and have any longevity. in your career. So I don't know. We'll see how he progresses. I mean, listen, the kid's winning, but you can't get your ass destroyed for 3 rounds and pull off a slick submission at the end of the 3rd round for too long. It's going to catch up with you.
Interesting stat is no champions dethroned in all of 2020. All the new champions were from vacant title fights. So outside of everything happening in the world, in terms of just the competition, it's been a pretty dominant year for these champions, right?
I didn't even realize that. Interesting. Yeah. It's been a fun year of fights considering, everything being shut down and, all the stuff that we went through this year. It's been a fun year of fights. It's been some good stuff, and there's been a lot of young talent that has emerged this year.
Dana over here. Since this is the last time we'll talk to you for the year, I want to know if they told you, Dana, at the beginning of the year, you're not going to be doing any traveling, but you're going to get this thing called Fight Island in Abu Dhabi, what would you have said?
Listen, if you'd have told me that Las Vegas was going to shut down and casinos wouldn't be open, and I would never believe this in a million years. So to think about it, anything else with the business, I couldn't imagine a day where companies were shut down, where sports wouldn't happen, Disneyland wouldn't be open, shit like that. Wouldn't believe it.
The first fight, when everything started going on, everyone was kind of holding on like, hey, just anything can happen, but Tony versus Khabib in Brooklyn, somehow it gets salvaged. We know in the end it just didn't seem to be meant to be. You've been president a long time. Big fights have fallen apart. Is there any particular extra sting, I guess, that the Tony Khabib fight that everyone wanted just didn't seem to happen?
No, it doesn't. It just didn't. I mean, it wasn't from lack of trying. I mean, we put that fight together 5 times. It just, it just wasn't meant to be. I don't think about it at all.
I'm assuming this might be when you get back from vacation. We know that you've talked about the heavyweights in March. We know Conor's in January. Is there any targeted champion who you want to headline the February pay-per-view?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not even thinking about that right now. I'm not thinking about anything. Tonight was our last pay-per-view of the year, and I just wanted to get through this. And, put 2020 in the rearview mirror. And then you guys know, you can tell how next year's shaping up. We've got awesome fights next year. So I don't know how the rest of the world is going to be, and I've already sort of set my mind. I'm in a place where I don't give a shit what goes on with the rest of the world. I don't care. This is the only world that I have to focus on and think about, and take care of my people, my family, and whatever else goes on. Fuck it. I'm not even going to, whatever, man. I'm just focused on what's going on here. So, yeah, that's my attitude going into 2021.
Happy holidays, Dana.
Thanks, buddy. You too.
Hey, Dana.
Hey, what's
Good
up,
to see
buddy?
ya.
You too.
Take a look at a guy like Brandon Moreno. Summer of 2019, he gets cut. He stays ready. He climbs his way in. He loses the majority draw here for the title fight. What kind of message does it send guys that don't get contracts at the Contender Series or get cut about staying ready, being active, and you never know when your shot's going to come?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen a lot of it with the Contender Series, guys that didn't win or didn't make it that night, but I said, you know what, they can come back. And they have them, they've done well. Some guys come back twice. Never give up, man. You got to keep fighting, especially if this is what you want to do. This is a tough business.
And one more question. Is it safe to say that no decisions will be made for the lightweight strap until you meet face-to-face with Khabib in person?
Yeah, I'm meeting with him next month. It actually all lines up perfectly. Conor's going to fight that same week with Poirier. We're talking about Chandler fighting. This fight happened. tonight, and then I meet with Khabib next month, and we figure out what's going on.
Dana, how do you had the fight between Moreno and Figueiredo by the third round before the deduction?
How did I have it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I had Figueiredo winning the fight. The point deduction, the whole fight turned. You know, Moreno started coming on stronger. He probably won that round without the point deduction. And that was when the whole fight really started to turn.
For the rematch, it depends on the health of both fighters, right? But in the case that Moreno is not ready for that, are you considering maybe Cody Garbrandt again, or the comeback of TJ Dillashaw?
No, these guys just fought twice in 3 weeks. Yeah. They got nothing but time. They can take as much time as they need.
Okay, and what do you think about Mackenzie Dern's performance? She's been doing great, a lot of evolution. She showed a great stand-up. She did a great job.
And toughness, too, tonight. You know, with a broken nose, keeps coming forward. Actually fights harder in the third round with a broken nose. Yeah, you can tell that she's in a completely different zone and place.
Getting for real.
Huh? Yeah.
Getting for real.
Yeah. And that was a great fight. Great fight.
And do you think we are seeing the last fights of Junior Dos Santos?
Possibly.
And what about Tony Ferguson? I mean, he was tough as nails as always, but
yeah,
today I don't know.
I mean, Tony's a guy that's got to go take some time, figure out what he wants to do, what's his game plan for 2021. I think Tony's still, a couple fights away from making any crazy decisions like that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That good? Yeah. Merry Christmas, you guys. Have a great holiday, and I'll see you next year.